Good evening, everyone. We are running a couple minutes behind tonight. Back from executive session. Mr. Rowan, is there anything to report tonight?
No, ma'am.
With that, we will open the meeting tonight, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have a presentation. We're
Thank
skipping
you.
the minutes. Sorry, we're moving them to later, so you're right.
Okay, thank you very much. Oftentimes we have the opportunity to honor our Colerain police officers or our Colerain Township firefighters. We actually have an opportunity this evening to recognize Park Ranger Nicholas Mercer. He's here tonight with Chief Tom Doyle from the Hamilton County Park Rangers, and we're recognizing Nicholas with our Life-Saving Award, and I'll read the facts of the recognition. It's awarded to Great Parks of Hamilton County Park Ranger Nicholas Mercer for his commitment to the citizens and visitors of Colerain Township. On June 14, 2014, near Triple Creek Park on Buell Road in Colerain Township, Ranger Mercer was working as a Great Parks police officer and responded to assist members of the Colerain Township Fire and Emergency Medical Services, as well as the Colerain Police Department, for an auto crash in which a vehicle struck a large tree and the occupant was still inside, unable to exit. Upon the arrival of Ranger Nicholas Mercer, he found the vehicle smoking heavily, and because of the heavy smoke, Ranger Mercer feared for the safety of the occupant. Ranger Mercer and another unknown civilian worked to remove the occupant from the vehicle before the vehicle was overcome by the smoke or engulfed in flames. Upon removing the occupant from the vehicle and moving the victim to a safe area, the vehicle burst into flames and was fully involved with fire when the Colerain Township Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Services arrived on scene. Ranger Mercer's efforts demonstrated a dedication and professionalism expected of all police officers who serve communities everywhere. In this instance, Ranger Mercer provided the life-saving efforts that impacted the safety and betterment of Colerain Township. His actions as a police officer on June 14th are an example to the men and women who proudly wear the badge of police officer, and his efforts bring honor to the Great Parks of Hamilton County Park Ranger Department. With tremendous honor and appreciation that we present this life-saving award to Ranger Nicholas Mercer of the Great Parks of Hamilton County Park Ranger Department. I just want to say thank you to Nicholas for his service as a member of the Park Rangers. They respond and patrol all the park properties within Colerain Township, so we work with them just as we do many other agencies, but we in and out from different variety of services. But because Nick was there that evening, we saved a life. So we're greatly appreciative of your service to our community. So if you would, stand up here. There's a photo op here. Thank you. Thank you. You got anything to say?
Just thanks for honoring me. It's great to be recognized for something that you're expected to do at any time of your job. So I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and fortunately I was able to save this guy's life. So thank you very much.
Nicholas, thank you.
So we have public safety reports are next.
Okay, somewhere. On September 11th, Patriot Day, the Colerain Township Business Association is holding its annual appreciation breakfast in which they honor the Police Officer of the Year and Fire and EMS personnel. On Thursday at 8 a.m. at the Community Center, the Fire Department Firefighters of the Year will be Captain Steve Kahn, Steve Hammonds, Timothy Michaels, Bruce Metzler, Zach Hardesty, Joe Plackey, Doug Rui, and Jay Schneider. They are being recognized for their fire response from May 17th on Galbraith Road, which they also were involved in saving the life of a gentleman that was stuck inside the home. And then the police department is recognizing the lifetime service of Lieutenant Angela Meyer and Officer Mark Meyer as their police officers of the year for their almost 30 years of service to the township. So it's going to be a sad day. It's going to be a good day for the recognition of those folks. So we're excited about Thursday.
But Dan, what was that? That's
day after tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes. It's a good breakfast. They got tater tots, which is a personal favorite. So, One thing was in the Detective Dave Hubbard, we had a serial arsonist in the township responsible for 13 fires in the Groesbeck area. And he partnered with Colerain Fire, DART, and the DEA, providing us resources and personnel, and allowed us to finally identify the suspect. And he was arrested earlier this week, and he was charged with 11 counts of arson. So that was a scary thing, and Dave spent a lot of nights here sitting in the weeds and watching. He knew he was waiting for that guy to come out, and he was able to track him down. So we appreciate the help from everybody. Some information on the sharing service with Springfield Township. One of the things we do is we share dispatching. Springfield Township handled 224 calls for Colerain, while Colerain handled 34 calls. The savings for us equated to over $4,000, and the fact that we no longer staff a second day on the weekend, that provided approximately $480 in savings. So you're looking at almost $4,600 in savings just from the first month in which we were partnering. That would equate to a year of over $55,000 in service. And we've shared traffic investigators. Our criminal investigators are meeting on a regular basis and sharing intel and working together as well. So so far, so good. The fire department just started a fire academy. That will end in December, and there's approximately 25 folks in it, and has transitioned to hopefully a money fundraising and revenue generating opportunity. So we're excited about that. And finally, Mark Meyer received his last letter from the Good Timers for his assistance with their charity ride. And as you know, the Good Timers always presents the department with a donation based on the monies raised, and they appreciate Mark immensely because he's been with them since the beginning, right after 9/11, and great partnership. But Mark's done a great service to their group, and they just want to extend their appreciation. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I will stop calling you Chief one of these days. I apologize. On to the trustees report. Mr. Ritter?
I have nothing this evening.
Nor do I.
I don't have anything either, so that was easy. Citizens address. This is not the public hearing part. Was there anybody who wanted to speak that didn't sign up for the public hearing? Okay. Not appear we have anyone, so now we do have the public hearing. The first that we have is the demolition of the structure at 3777 Pool Road. Is there a motion to open the public hearing on that?
So moved.
Second. Aye.
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 Okay. And, oh, yeah, Mr. Mills, why don't you start us off?
Sure. So on June 5th of 2014, the Hamilton County Public Health Department executed a search warrant on the property at 3777 Pool Road, one of only, I think, 2 times in the history of that organization that they've done that to gain access to the house. What they found when they got into the house at 377 Pool Road was pretty unprecedented conditions. Mr. Scott Putoff is here. He's with the Public Health Department. I'll leave his description to him, but I've had an opportunity to review the pictures of the interior of the structure, and I've had an opportunity to talk with folks who have done remediation, and it is my opinion that there is no amount of remediation that can undo what has been done inside of this property. There was 3 feet of sewage in the basement, mold throughout, inches of feces, and throughout the house. It was bad, very bad. So I want to leave the interior description to Mr. Putoff and Officer Frandoni, both of whom were inside of the structure. The facts of the case are, on June 5th, the health department condemned the structure and deemed it unfit for human habitation. On June 9th, our fire department was out and declared the structure unsafe. There were extension cords running through the sewage in the basement and up into to provide electric for upstairs. It was not a safe situation, and our fire department declared it so on June 9th. On July 8th, the trustees adopted the preliminary demolition resolution ordering the demolition of the structure. We did a title search and sent notices to the owners and lien holders, and with that, I just would like to turn it over to Mr. Putoff and Officer Frandoni to share their description of what was going on inside the property.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're going to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Actually, the home on
Ah.
the search warrant was executed. Upon entering the home, we observed the home in very poor repair and very unsanitary. The home had a strong odor of cat urine and cat feces. Cat waste was observed in almost every room, on the floors, cabinets, and bathrooms, and the bathroom fixtures. Many cats were observed throughout the home. Estimates put it around 20. I'm not sure what the SPCA finally pulled out of there. Some were in pretty poor health with like fleas and missing hair, things like that. The basement was observed flooded with about 3 feet of what we thought was sewage water. We've been told later that it isn't sewage water, but regardless, it's considered contaminated water. And so there's about 3 feet of water down there. The sewage water was observed extending outside the home into the back stairwell, so it's also outside of the home as well. Every porous surface in the basement was had mold, possible mold growing on it. The reason I say possible is we don't test for mold, so I can't tell you species or things like that, but if I was a betting man, I'd say it was mold. Extension cords, like Jeff said, were observed in the home, and there was a garden hose also observed in the home, kind of running water and electric to certain places. Like I said, we don't know what those are necessarily for, but it obviously presents a safety hazard. A heavy fly infestation was observed in the home as well, and water damage was observed in the ceiling of the sunroom. The bedrooms and bathroom were observed cluttered with poor ability to exit in the event of emergency. So on that day, we issued orders. Those orders stated that the home could not be lived in. And then on the 5th is when we did our formal orders, which is what Jeff's referring to, and we posted the door with our placard of the home not being able to be occupied. There were 12 violations of our environmental sanitation code at that time. And like I said, it's not able to be occupied until those violations are corrected. And we've got a list of about 13 items that need to be addressed. One other thing that I didn't put in my, well, they are in my orders as a corrective item, but they weren't in my observations, is the septic system is also non-functioning, or it's not working properly, and it's been in poor repair for some time. Our water quality division has asked for that to be corrected on numerous occasions, and that has not yet been fixed, so the septic would also have to be addressed. Thank you.
Kyle, would you like to just generally, just because I wasn't in the structure, but you were, could you just describe very briefly what you observed?
We, with the police department, assisted the health department in the execution of the search warrant. That's more our area than theirs. So we helped them in initial gaining entry into the house. And so I was right at the front door. When we opened the front door, it was covered in flies and bugs before we even got the door open. And as soon as you open the door, you're just knocked back by the odor of the cat feces and cat urine just permeating out of the house. And as soon as you step into the house, there's 2 to 3 inches of cat animal waste and just garbage and trash and food all over the entire residence. And cats all over the house in very poor condition. I believe the last numbers I heard from the SPCA were in the ballpark of 30 cats, some of which had to be put down due to some poor health conditions from the house. It was not a good situation for cats or humans to be in.
Thank you.
Kyle, before you leave, I see in some of the reports they were talking about easy access, like if there was a fire or something like that. Could you describe, was there stuff sitting everywhere? I mean,
It seemed to be a hoarding situation. There was only, I think, 1 sleeping room. Everything else had just had piles of just items of everything, and there were a few doors that you couldn't even open. The things behind the doors had fallen onto the doors, so you couldn't even gain entry into a secondary bedroom or closet.
thank you, Kyle.
I have nothing.
I have 3 people, I believe, on this one. I have J.L. Klein. Do you want to step up to the podium, ma'am?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm part owner of the residence. I live there with my disabled Vietnam veteran brother, who is currently in a nursing home and being held involuntarily because they took us from the home, public health, and put us into an involuntary mental facility situation. I was in University Medical at Deaconess for the following 20 days, where I was observed, examined, and tested several times. As far as my health was concerned, there was no adverse reaction that they could find due to the toxic aspect of the home. My 19 cats I was told that the SPCA, 17 were taken alive. One was sick. I'd been nursing him for 2 nights solid, feeding him and hydrating him every 4 hours. And I told them to get to him first because he needed it more than anybody. But basically the rest, as far as I know, and the reports would show, I think from Brandon, who picked them up for the SPCA, that my cats were well fed and watered and basically taken care of. And I had been to UCAN several times, taking 2 at a time to have them spayed and neutered. So they were basically adults, and I kind of took on a little bit too much. I started out with 7, and then friends and so forth gave me some. They were dumped in my yard, and I kind of took them in. But I was also caring for my brother, who, like I said, is a disabled Vietnam veteran. And, he was my priority, and then second, the cats. And I know how crazy that might sound to people, but that's what we were met with. I worked for 21 years as a driver for a local company, and when I had my stroke, they pretty much laid me off, and then 6 months later, they dropped me from the rolls and took away my health insurance. So I lost my doctor. I lost my blood pressure medicine at that point, my prescriptions. But my brother could still go to VA. I made sure that he made all of his appointments. I made sure that he ate every day. I tried to keep him clean. There were other aspects to him, being he had a massive stroke, so there were other aspects to that I attempted to take care of. Things got out of hand. I spent probably the last close to 5 years in that position, in that situation. We called out for help. My brother called VA and on several occasions asked them, could we get housekeeping people over? He's on Social Security retirement, and I'm on disability, so we don't have a whole lot, just enough to cover our mortgage and our bills and eat. And so we did reach out for 2 years running. The former, zoning manager, Jerry Quinn, would come and visit. He brought me paperwork, and I filled it out twice for PwC to come and help us do the exterior portion of the house. That we were keeping up the lawn and so forth, but the gutters and things were going pretty badly. And so by the time that that they would get around to where the priorities were taken care of for the year, it was bad weather, and they just missed over us. They didn't get to us. So I was pretty much staying in the house because I was busy, and by the time that I got everything done that I needed to do and wanted to start on the house, I was not physically capable of doing that because my legs would swell up so badly without my blood pressure medicine that my skin would split open, and it was very difficult to get up from the chair at that point. So but I got up early every morning and made a jab at it, and it just was ahead of me. There was nothing else I could do. Like I said, now we've been in the house since 1997. It's been in the family since less than a year after it was built in 1957. So I have a history in the home, a family history in the home. A lot of the things there that remained were my mother-in-law's, and so they're also there, and I care for them. But like I said, we were fine up until the point where, I had a disability issue, and I lost my job, and so my income, and just things went downhill. Now, you know, when they took me into custody, they thought, well, I'm depressed, and they labeled me as a hoarder. I'm not a hoarder of cats. I didn't want 19 cats. I really didn't. I was barely able to care for them, but I was caring for them. I mean, they weren't mistreated in any way. They all had names and ages and colors and, and so forth, birth dates. But when it came down to it, really, by the time that I could have went out the door, I guess, and screamed for someone to help us, I was so embarrassed that I couldn't do that. So anyway, if that's depression, well, I was kind of caught up in a moment, and it snowballed. Now, I've been dealing with public health. I just talked to Scott a little bit ago, but I talked to Jeremy Hessel of Environmental Service there, and he told me that if we talked about even years out, and that about threw me over because I wasn't expecting that. I was talking about in months we could get this done. I had a lot of people to come to court to my hearing with me to support me. A lot of them are in the business of rehabbing homes, and they know what they're doing and have teams, that go in and do this thing. However, I had a flea problem because of the cats, and I had sent away for topical treatment for all of them. I had a box coming, and it was, well over almost $200 worth of flea medication to treat these cats. But, it needed to be done. But they took me before it came. So when it finally came, I had a friend pick it up, and by that time I had no cats to put it on. But I have talked to Scherzinger, and they assured me, they gave me a very good deal, a very good price that they would come out, and their guarantee that they would take care of the fleas, because at that point, then I can get people in there. I can't get anybody in there right now because I couldn't send my worst enemy inside there. It's just, they'd be eaten up. It's just not good, and I can't in my heart do that. So, they keep asking me, well, when can we get there? Well, I set something up. I wanted to get Scherzinger in the beginning of this month. Well, my brother is being held and now under court order. He has to stay, even though his competency by the probate has been dismissed. He's found competent. But someone had filed guardianship on him, a stranger. While I was in hospital, I didn't know what was going on. He didn't know what was going on. And so we had to retain a lawyer for him, and we had to get a continuance for his court. Meanwhile, the judge ordered that he stay in Veranda Gardens, which is where he's at $7,000 a month. Well, we don't have that. But in lieu of that, and to make up the difference, or somewhat, with Medicare, they diverted his funds from our bank account to their bank account to pay for him staying there under court order. He'd rather be out and come home. We had an apartment set up, an efficiency, had it reserved, and they wouldn't let him out. So now I'm on half income, trying to keep up the bills, and trying to get this all together. The bug people in and take care of that, and then the team's in to start tearing out. So I'm caught in this middle place, and I contacted Jeremy, and he told me that they're going to work with me, and as long as I keep them apprised of what's happening, and let them know that we are moving forward with it, and they come out and check every once in a while, do an inspection and so forth, and see that things are being done correctly. Because he thought that the structure was worth saving. It's structurally sound. I mean, the water in the basement, it's an issue from drainage from the back. And I mean, the high school is basically beyond the backyard, and they've over the years built up a hill. And since then, there's been water in the basement, and we have now 2 sump pumps that were not functioning at that time, but we had a portable one in there, and that's what the hose and the wires were. But submersible, was down in there to keep the water pumped down. But then when the fire marshal or fire chief came and had Duke turn off the electric, then the sump pumps can't work anyway. So there's no electricity to the home at all. It was cut at the pole. So there's, as far as a fire hazard, I mean, what, arson? Hopefully not. But we're keeping the front lawn is being mowed, so it looks, at least like, it's not something that'd grab you that's nobody's there. But I mean, other than lightning, I don't know what else would make it a fire hazard. It's not flammable things in there. Yeah, there's trash in there, and it needs to be cleaned out. But we really can't send a human in there with the fleas until I get Scherzinger in there and get them to do what they do best. Now, like I said, when I talked to Jeremy, he said, well, we're talking years out, that this will be right. And I said, well, once we can get in there, I'm talking months, because this is where I live. I'm in temporary housing right now. Out of the goodness of others' hearts, I'm staying at a place. I have no clothing. It's all in the house. My personal items and everything are there. So I had to secondhand store what I'm wearing. And, it's kind of hard to live out of a bag, but, I'm doing it because I have to. This is all we have, my brother and I. We've put pretty much, ourselves into this, and had it not been the fact that we both had a health failing, his was severe, mine was looks severe, but it wasn't as bad as it appears. Then, things would have been different. And like I said, if you went back 5 years, we were having company, we had friends in, we had people over, and, and so forth. Then after that, this came about. You couldn't do that anymore. I had to send someone out to shop for us and do our grocery shopping and get our mail and take the trash and so forth. And I basically let my driver's license expire because I was afraid I'd be tempted to drive when I knew I wasn't physically ready. So I've since I've been out of the hospital, I've done some positive things. Hopefully, I've applied again to get my driver's license. I'm on temporary right now. It just makes me feel very young again. And I've got a library card. I've been doing my shopping and so forth, and I'm going over and taking care of my brother's needs, things that he needs at Veranda Gardens until they release him out of there. And hopefully they'll restore his finances back, to us, so that we can really get on this. That's pretty much it. That's my last 90 days anyway of my life.
I have a tremendous amount of compassion for you, ma'am. I do. Mr. Mills, in your expert opinion, is there any path for this board to take, short of demolishing the structure, that would still protect the citizens of Colerain Township? And that's really what we're sworn to do. So,
I hate being in this situation, and I hate the thought of living in that building is a scary one to me. I think that it may make sense to give a period of time where significant change has to be created. But we can scroll through some of the other pictures. It is
we don't need to do that.
It is very bad. And short of taking everything out of there, everything, the stud, all the drywall, it would have to come down to the studs, I would think. That's a huge undertaking, a massive undertaking. Tremendous resources brought to bear on bringing this structure back to a habitable condition, I would think.
Yeah, so our order.
Sorry, Scott, could you come to the microphone?
In our orders, we've outlined specific things that need to happen. Like I said, there's 13 of those, and Jeff's right, basically down to the studs. All the wastewater down there has to be trucked out. The mold has to be remediated. Can this be done? Sure. It's a matter of time and money. I've yet to hear a specific plan from Joanne Klein, but she has told me that she has one. And I think that at Public Health, we're just concerned about making sure that people have a safe place to live. And so if they're willing to put the money and do the work, provided they meet those standards, we're going to be okay. But it is a large undertaking, I'd have to agree. The wastewater is a big deal, and then obviously the septic system needs to be fixed. And like Jeff said, the place has to be almost entirely gutted.
And
I was going to ask that question. That was one of my concerns. My brother actually does this work. This is what he does, is go in and clean up fire and water data. That's actually his job. From just the black and white, I do not want to see color photos. From just the black and white photos, this is a gut job. This is literally ripping up the floors, ripping out the walls, like literally everything in this house would have to be removed.
Absolutely.
And my concern is, you indicated earlier when you testified that they had already received several notices for not complying with the septic system, which was something, this was beyond, that's something outside that we knew wasn't working.
Absolutely.
So you've already had a history of not fixing a problem and then going inside and finding this, how realistic is it?
Given your limited
Yeah.
financial resources, ma'am, which I'm sensitive to, I don't know how the path could be constructed to get this done reasonably quick.
I know, he's next.
I think he wanted to speak on this, actually the septic system, and what happened was they had inspections on every.
I'm
oh,
sorry, I
I'm sorry
think
for
that's
checking.
Good.
They had inspections every April, and, we were going along with the inspections fine, and then, they said that the motor had quit running, and of course it had been in there for like 10 years, 12 years. So we had to replace it. Well, it's a cavitet system like Colerain Township has, only smaller. And so the original manufacturer of the cavitet system in the 1950s have gone out of business. And so finding a replacement motor which matched that system was, what I was told was impossible. So what we did was we called the wholesaler, and they ended up having a motor made for us out in the Midwest and shipped. And the fellows went and picked it up, and that's the motor that's in there now. And the problem is that it's not an approved motor. It's supposed to be better than the jet system that was in there, but they don't make that one anymore. And now, since then, there's been a company, I did some research, that do make the exact or the acceptable replacement motor for our system, for our cavitet. And so it would be a matter of switching out, taking out this one cost me $700. But I mean, I can take that out and put in a replacement, for that would I would say most likely would be approved when they come to inspect. So it wasn't it wasn't a sewage issue going into the basement. It's a closed system. It's a cavitet, just like the township has over here. And so it wasn't that. What it was drainage. And as I said, then when the water got high enough that the electricity went out, it was a finished basement, and so there were outlets. And when it got up high enough, I guess, that hit that, then it could have been potentially dangerous, certainly. But as I wasn't going up and down steps and my brother couldn't, we weren't aware right away. But then when we did find out, Michael came over and he put a temporary, a submersible pump that's one you carry around with you to start pumping the water out, try to get it out of there. And that's what the wire was for, the cord, and and I mean, we got the kind that you could use for that. It's specially coated. It's a big, thick yellow thing, and we got that. And then we had the hose, the garden hose, to pump into and bring it up and then put it down the drain so that it would then leave through the system. So that's what the hose and the electrical wires were from the basement. It was trying to get the water pumped out. And then they were telling me while I was in the hospital that there was 5 feet of water. And I said, well, that wasn't, that was unreal to me, really. But, and then in court they told me there were 7 inches. So I really don't know now until I see it myself. But it wasn't sewage per se. I mean, and we didn't have a leaking toilet or anything like that. Those things were functioning, sinks and faucets and everything. So it wasn't that. But I mean, I could see where it would be misinterpreted for that. At a glance, I mean, I would have probably thought the same thing. So I'm not blaming anybody for, not knowing that, but that's what the situation was with the water in the cavitet system.
What if Ms. Klein and I sat down between next month is when we would bring a final demolition resolution and just talked through possibilities, and if there is any way that the structure can be saved, and by that I mean there's a timeline and resources that can be brought to bear in a short amount of time, because it's right next to the high school. It's right next to, I mean, it's on a major thoroughfare. It is a public health hazard right now.
The high school has an easement on my property. Their driveway to Pool Road is an easement given by my mother-in-law, late mother-in-law. So yes, I'm familiar that they're back there.
But then I could report out at the next trustees meeting as to the outcome of our conversation. I want to be very clear. What needs to happen is a timeline and then resources that show that timeline can be met.
There are a couple of different alternatives that I think could be arrived at or could be exercised in order to arrive at that. One would be for the board, if the board votes in favor of the demolition, there's always a 30-day period that goes by before there's a final demolition order. We could extend that to 60 days if you wanted to give some additional time, or the other alternative would be to continue this hearing in progress so that all the testimony will still be in the record, and then if no significant improvements occur within a certain finite amount of time, whatever you specify, then we would resume the hearing. Those are the two alternatives that I would suggest.
Well, there are other people here tonight, though, that did wish to speak, so we can, I've got a Mr., I assume Mr. Klein.
I've done most of the work on that house. Put a new roof on it in 2001, tear off. That's the third roof that's been put on that house since I've lived in it. The capitator system has got a jet air system. It came from Beckman Environmental up in Batavia. It's the newest system out there. Complete aeration system, brings the water out at 98.9% pure. The timer went bad, and that's what kept the motor from running. It's a motor, the shaft, the impeller is all one unit. It fits down into a closed tank, which drains off into another tank, into a third tank, and then out. So that system's nothing, there's nothing wrong with the system itself. The timer went bad. And I think part of that was when the sump pump went out from the drainage. I wasn't over there every day. I don't live over there now. I'm living in another place. But I've been trying to take care of it, and it was a matter of getting down there, getting the water out. So I brought the submersible over. It's a small 3rd horsepower electric submersible, works to a garden hose, like people use in fountains and that. And to try and get the water out through the system. And then I was running an extension cord out and running the jet air system while it was pumping. I was running it, but then I was shutting it off because I didn't have a timer to shut it on and off. So that's where that's at. So, but as far as the inside of the house, it's in rough shape. I'll go along with that, but it can be rehabbed. There's nothing there that can't be done. The foundation, the structure, brick structure, it's all in good shape. I mean, it's not falling down or anything like that. The floors and everything are solid in the house, even though they got to come up because of for mold purposes or being the moisture. Either that or completely sealed with some kind of commercial sealer that would seal in and alleviate the problem. But there's no rotten wood in it or anything like that. It's not been that way long enough to cause that, or to make the structure unsafe, or other than needing to be cleaned up. And I've done a lot of it. I've done some of the work. I did some of the work when we rehabbed the old Joy Company building over at Blue Rock in Cheviot. I was in on that when it first reopened as Joy Company after it was closed for several years. And I've got my daughter and her husband do rehab work. I've got other people that have volunteered to come over and help the rehab. So that's all I can say.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Thank you, sir. I have a third person. I'm not sure if you're here on this one or the other one. It's Bronert, business owner. Is Bronert still here? Oh, okay. Okay, that's okay. Just okay. Is there a motion to? Well, I should say you were suggested continuing it in progress.
Public hearing today.
Okay.
And then you can do a vote however you choose. And
Well, I don't think we're voting tonight on this
Right.
one.
There will be a
Not voting
final
on this.
demolition resolution next month. Yep,
Okay, so I'll offer a motion to close this public hearing.
yep.
Second. Aye.
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 So what kind of timetable are we looking at here?
Between now and the October trustees meeting, I'll make contact with Ms. Klein as the owner, and we'll set up a meeting to happen within that time period, and then I can report back the outcomes of that conversation. What I'm looking for, just to be clear, is a plan for the rehabilitation.
Financial plan and an operational plan.
Exactly.
We got to understand where the resources are coming from
Yes.
to make the plan realistic or not.
And I'll report that back, and then we can consider a final demolition resolution with a period of time, within which that operational plan can be executed. And, short of that, then there would be the demolition of the house, because I don't want it to be glossed over that this is in very bad
Oh,
shape,
you
and next
don't have
to
to-
and next to a high school, where hundreds, thousands of people travel every day.
Understood.
When's the October meeting? Is it the one, Jim, that got rescheduled till later in the month?
Oh, that was
7th?
November. That
October
was
7th, I believe. So that's Judgment Day.
October 7th.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you. Next, we have, is there a motion to open the public hearing on the preliminary development plan for Snows Lake located at 4344 Dry Ridge?
I'll move.
Second.
Is there anyone, no one is?
Aye.
Sorry.
Aye.
No, I don't have anybody signed in to speak on this. Was there anyone here to speak about the Snows Lake property?
Mr. and Mrs. Faring are in the audience. They may be able to help clarify anything if the trustees need it. Okay. So Snows Lake, the plan that's before you is a preliminary development plan for, wait a minute, Snows Lake. This, as we all know, is Snows Lake. Dry Ridge Road, Colerain Avenue is running north to south here. We have Dona Schwaben to the northwest. Everybody knows where Snows Lake is. Snows Lake was actually on our demolition list at one point in time. It was in a horrible shape. Also, that has been demolished, and it was actually purchased by Mr. and Mrs. Fearing. They intend to construct a restaurant on the site. These are renderings of the restaurant, and if you drive by today, you'll see site work has already been done to shore up the sides of the lake and to create the pad on which this restaurant will be constructed. So this was taken before the Hamilton County Planning Commission. It was taken before the Colerain Township Zoning Commission. They took a look at the 7 criteria that need to be satisfied before approval of a map amendment like this. Their recommendations were, there were 8 recommendations that were made, but ultimately they said we approve. They recommended the approval of this preliminary development plan with the 8 conditions that are listed in the staff report, and I wholeheartedly support that recommendation.
Have questions for them?
Yep. Thank you for doing business in Colerain Township, and wish you the best of luck in your project. I was just talking to my friends the other night about this. I think it's a great location, and it looks like a compelling plan, so best of luck.
Yeah, it's a great story. It starts with our zoning people identifying problem properties and, turned it into a positive, and I appreciate you guys making this effort and investing in our community. I look forward to it. I'm excited. Thank you.
You were not the previous owners, correct? You were not the previous owner. Okay, so I just want to watch what I was just going to say that the previous establishment had a rougher reputation. Perhaps you might want to meet with Mr. Malloy about maybe ways to have it not return to that type of clientele. It's not the same type of establishment, so that's a good step. But I'm just saying they might be able to offer you some tips on how to help you out in that direction. I live near there, so that's why so just saying. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
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 And we need a vote on this tonight, correct?
Yes, there's a resolution for adoption tonight.
There was no conditions, or there were conditions?
There were conditions. There are 8 conditions.
I'll move to approve with the conditions.
Second?
Aye.
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 That takes us into new business, would be back to Mr. Malloy.
Thank you. As you know, the police department has a relationship with the United States Marshal's Office and a partnership there. One of the trends that the Marshal Service and other federal agencies are moving towards is the training of their agents as emergency medical technicians. In short, they have a gentleman who is an agent for them who lives in Colerain Township, is a graduate of the emergency medical training, and he did his ride a long time in his clinical time with the Colerain Fire Department initially, and because of his residency here, they've asked if we could engage in an agreement in which their agent can continue service to the marshals and the training and maintaining of certifications with our Colerain Fire Department. Captain Will Mueller, our coordinator for EMS services, has been working with Jeffrey Balzer, the Deputy Chief for the Southern Ohio District of Ohio U.S. Marshal's Office. They have formulated a memorandum of agreement. I forwarded it on to Mr. Barbier. He's approved it to form, and basically I'm asking the board to authorize me to enter into agreement with the Peter Tobin, U.S. Marshal for Southern District of Ohio, to allow them to partner and work with our fire service to maintain their training and their clinicals. So, ask for the board's approval.
A motion?
So moved.
Second. Aye.
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 Thank you.
Bortel?
Thank you. I just wanted to give the board a quick summary of the Taste of Colerain. Friday night, we were a little slower than normal because the weather was kind of threatening, but it never did rain. And then Saturday, we did pick up. I'll just give you some financial information. Our sponsorship income for 2014 was $29,000. Our beer and pop sales for the 2 evenings was $23,282. Our total income from the event, including sponsorship, beer and pop, tent rental, and all those sorts of things, was $71,000. Our expenses were $65,000. We have a balance in our special events account at, as of today, of $40,000. Maybe over the next couple board meetings, the board can decide if we want to continue next year, or maybe what we want to do, so we can start getting bands under contract if we're going to move forward.
I'm personally in favor.
Sure.
Yeah, the Friday and Saturday, I think especially, format works fine. I think that was probably a smart move, getting rid of Sunday. And I see no reason to stop at all.
Yeah, actually, our income for the last 2 years, only doing the 2 days, is actually greater than we did when we had the 3-day event.
Yeah. Press
Gross, not gross income, but actually net income.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
My second item is just to remind the public about Recycle Day, September 20th, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's here at the Government Complex in the Senior Center. You must be a Colerain Township resident to participate. And if you have any questions about Recycle Day, you can call the Township at 513-385-7500 or go to www.colerain.org and just click on the Recycle Day button.
Well, and Kevin, if I'm correct, this is a big event because you can take things that you normally don't take, such as, isn't there something like batteries or paint?
Yeah, we take batteries. We will take paint if it's dried up. We take computers, and that's actually become probably one of our bigger items, are computers and printers and that sort of thing.
So not it's not normal recycling. It's things that are harder for people to find to take things.
And also, we actually do take non-recyclables like refrigerators and stoves and maybe things that you can't get rid of normally, tires. We even take things that aren't recyclable that day. So it's a good day to clean out your garage if you have a lot of items to get rid of.
I can only imagine what the back parking lot's going to look like now, Kevin.
We take them that day.
It's going to look like a yard sale.
It's only that day. You can't
It's only that day.
off water or anything like that. It's only
Right,
that
it's
day.
just that day from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Thank you. Back to Mr. Mills.
Sure. The only item I have for you this evening is the nuisance abatement resolution for the month. Maybe. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so this is the chart for the month. I'm asking for the trustees' approval of the monthly nuisance abatement resolution.
Motion.
So moved. Second. Aye.
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 Thank you.
Administration?
Yes, Mr. Reinhardt, members of the board, I've got 4 items this evening. The first item, I'd like to recommend approval of an employment agreement with Frank Birkenhauer as Assistant Administrator, Director of Economic Development, effective October 26, 2014 through December 31st, 2017. This contract mirrors his current contract. There are no pay raises associated with this contract. He will remain under a pay freeze like every other employee through 2016, at which point it would be reevaluated with every other employee. Frank's done a great job, and his contract expires on the 25th, and I'd like to recommend approval.
So moved.
Second. Aye.
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 Next item I have is approval of a contract addendum with Cincinnati Bell Technology Solutions. What I'm asking for here is to authorize the administrator to enter into a contract addendum with CBTS for a period of 36 months for the purpose of upgrading phone services. The increase associated with the contract addendum shall not exceed $50,000 and is subject to final approval by legal counsel.
Moved. Second. Aye.
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 My third item is approval of interfund transfers as presented in the agenda. These transfers are presented at the time funds are needed for other funds. This particular transaction has to do with transferring money to the zoning department, $50,000.
So moved.
Second. Aye.
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 And my last item is recommendation to approve an HR document solution for our HR department. Historically, we have operated several different departments. Each department has handled all the HR records, and with the transition of duties to Emily Randolph, our Director of HR, we're looking to consolidate all HR functions out of the central administration building here. So we've done some research on actual hard copy files versus automated systems. Emily and her team has made a couple different site visits to look at this particular software and believes this is the best option for us moving forward. Will allow us to scan and have electronic files for all of our employees accessible by each department head. The cost is very reasonable. The actual scanning of the documents into the records will be done by each department. Therefore, we recognize that the right stuff gets into the right file. Rather than contracting that out, we felt it was important for our own employees to do that. So there'll be representatives from each of the various departments that will do that over the next several months. So I'd like to recommend approval of this HR document automation budget solution. The licensing is a one-time investment of $15,720. This is a not-to-exceed number. We do have a question on the scanners. As we look at our capital plans for the next several years and our current copier technology, if there's a way that we can scan with our existing technology and not have to buy new scanners, we want to be able to do that. So we'd be looking at a one-time investment not to exceed $19,305, and then a one-year maintenance agreement of $1,560 each year thereafter.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Before we call the roll, though, I would say, have you adequately established, standards, practices for protecting personal information and storage and all the usual things that you want to check a box on for?
Yes, Emily's done a great deal of research. This particular on-base system, her and I instituted when we were at Princeton, and then she has also reached out to, is it the water district who is actually implementing this at a much greater level than we are, as far as all the protocols, how you secure the records, and everything. So she's done due diligence. And Dan, I know that she had took a committee with her. It wasn't just her making this decision. So we felt that this was the best solution of everything out there.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's ready.
Yep, we're ready.
Aye.
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 Is that all for you, Jim?
That's it. Thank you.
That brings us to Heather.
The first item this evening is approval of minutes. We have the special meeting of June 9th.
I have no changes.
Or do I?
No changes.
Motion to approve June 9th?
Second.
Mr. Dieters.
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
And the regular meeting of July 8th.
I have no changes.
Nor do I.
No changes.
Motion to approve July 8th.
Second.
Mr. Dieters.
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
And then the special meeting of July 22nd.
I have no changes.
Nor do I.
Other than the 2 pages where my name is misspelled, that's the only changes I have. Page 3 and page 5.
They're already corrected, so, okay.
Motion to approve July 22nd as amended.
Second.
Mr. Dieters.
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
I'm going to blame that on Frank somehow.
That's, yeah, sure, we'll do that.
I believe, is there any further need for executive session?
Well, I have the
tonight?
rest of my report.
Oh, I'm sorry,
That's
Heather.
okay, that's fine.
Cut me off.
I'd like to ask for the board's usual approval of payroll, purchase orders, and receipts.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dieters.
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
And I have 2 items from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. The first is a transfer from N&D Restaurants, Inc., DBA Red Lobster number 10 at 3564 Springdale Road, transferring to Red Lobster Hospitality LLC, DBA Red Lobster number 110 at the same address. And then the second is from Blazing Wings, Inc., DBA Buffalo Wild Wings, Grill and Bar, 8405 Colerain Avenue, to Blazing Wings, Inc., DBA Buffalo Wild Wings, 3660 Stone Creek Boulevard. So, spoke with Mr. Mills about both of these, and he doesn't see the need for hearing, so I think if the board agrees, we're good to go.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And we have no further executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Dieters.
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone, for coming out tonight.